Hey everybody, welcome to Bestie Book Reviews. I'm here with my bestie Mandy.
And I'm here with my bestie Jessica.
So it's that time again. It is time for us to do our 1-minute book recs, or what we like to call our bestie book tea, where we spill the tea on all the books that we have read over the last week. So go grab your favorite beverage. I'm gonna Pepsi.
Coffee.
You drinking coffee this late at night? And go grab
books to read.
what? Hold on. And go grab your favorite coaster and let's get started. All right. So before we get started, you're going. Oh, yay. Okay, you going. Yay. All right. So before we get started, don't forget to hit that subscribe button. We are still doing our Road to 1K giveaway, and we are giving away a copy of Elsie Silver's Flawless that is signed by Elsie. When we hit 250 subscribers, you will also get an extra entry if you follow us on Instagram, and all of that is linked down below. So don't forget to do that. So,
all right,
I can see. I know. I was like, you want to say something? I can see it.
I was just waiting for my turn to speak.
That's how our relationship really is. Poor Jessica just talks all the time, Mandy.
Poor Jessica.
Poor Jessica. No, Jessica talks all the time.
Poor Mandy.
Jessica talks all the time, and poor Mandy just sits there and waits to get a word in edgewise. So
it's pretty bad when your husband even comments on that being a problem.
He does, yeah. But I remind him that we've been friends for more than 25 years, so you're used to it by now.
I am.
Yeah, you are. Yeah.
All right.
Okay. So
how about I ask you to tell me about your reading week?
I had a good reading week. I did several rereads. I read technically 9 books, but one was a trilogy, so we're going to call it 7. And I got to go on my Mother's Day weekend camping trip where I read books all weekend long. So,
okay, I have 7 books that I read. Only one was a 5-star, and I had some that just weren't. I just wasn't feeling it.
Yeah, I'm sorry, but I think that's why I did a reread, because of a couple of them, because I just wasn't feeling it. I was in an odd mood.
Yeah. So my first read of the week was Captain by Lauren Rowe. It's book number 2 in the Morgan Brothers. I just love the Morgan Brothers. They're so good. So definitely check this series out. So this is Morgan brother Ryan, and he meets Tessa, or T-Rod as we know her. And they're both at a bar. He just broke up with Olivia, who's kind of like this crazy girlfriend. Like, they actually had a bet about whether or not she was going to be crazy, and his other brother said like she's going to be crazy. So he broke up with her, and he's at the bar, and in walks Tessa, dressed as a flight attendant, and she says her name is Samantha because she's just putting herself back out there after a week-long hiatus, a year-long dating hiatus because of some stuff that happened. And while they're really hitting it off at the bar, in walks Olivia, and she starts shrieking at Ryan about how dare he be out at the bar trying to pick up another woman when he already has a girlfriend, which again, they broke up, but she's a little woohoo. So Samantha is like, I've already had my heart broken. The first person I'm just out. She's out. So she hightails it out of there before he can even explain. We fast forward 3 months later, and he is at his sister Kat's wedding in Hawaii for a week-long thing of festivities. And T-Rod is Kat's fiance's personal assistant. So they're going to be spending the week together.
Yeah, I read that one a while ago. It was really good. How many stars did you give it?
I gave it 4. They had excellent chemistry, and I absolutely love the part where they have their hate sex. It was so funny.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. All I know is when I read it, it just made me want to go back to Hawaii. So, yeah. Okay, so did you set my timer?
I'm trying to. Start talking, woman.
Okay, so I did a reread of A. Zavarelli's Kingdom Fall. This was a 5-star read for me when I read it a year ago. It's still a 5-star read. This is about Alessio. He is our hero, and Natalia is our heroine. Alessio it's Mafia-ish because there's Mafia vibes, but it's also almost like secret society vibes. But he has a little boy. He's looking for a nanny, and he hires Natalia. Now, Natalia has been through something. She cannot speak, but she can hear. We find out why later on. And when she gets in, like there's a reason why she wants this job. There's like more to her story than what we get in the beginning. And all I know, like when I was reading this, like the twists and turns, the things that happen, they actually threw me for a loop where doesn't normally happen. I can normally predict it. So I love this one. We have a virgin hero, and it's told in dual POV. So you got me. It's nanny. She's mute. You got a virgin hero. Yeah. So figure that one out. He's got a kid, but he's a virgin hero.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Okay. My next one is Fractured Sky by Catherine Cowles. This is book number 5 in the Tattered and Torn series, and it's the last one. These can be read as standalones, but please just do yourself a big favor and read the whole series straight from book 1 all the way through. There's a great story that goes along with all of, like, if you follow the 5 books together. So this is Shiloh and Ramsey. And really, just to sum this up, we have Shiloh, who was kidnapped as a child. She was held for a few days, and she's just been really traumatized by those events and how her mom and family kind of reacted. She constantly felt like everybody was worried about her, and so she never felt like she could live her life. Ramsey also has a really bad, like, childhood past as well. And so this is basically just an epic love story of 2 people that are very broken, finding healing while working with horses and saving 2 little boys. It was my 5-star read.
Okay.
I loved this. It was a great conclusion to the series.
Awesome. That's good. I know I've got all those waiting to be read on my never-ending TBR.
Read them.
Yeah. All right. So my next read was my trilogy that I did a reread as well. So the first one is Requiem of the Soul. It's by Natasha Knight and A. Zavarelli. I can't remember what the whole trilogy is called, but it's a trilogy. There's 3 of them. So this is basically a secret society. We're in the same world as the first book that I just mentioned. So it's a secret society, hate to love, forced marriage situation. So you have our heroine, who is Ivy, and her family's been a part of this secret society for years. She's kind of gotten out of it, but her dad is now in the hospital with, like, he's in a coma. Something happened. He's in a coma. He's in the hospital. Her half brother, who hates her, has come and picked her up, and he's like, it's time. You're being requested, and it's time for you to get married. So she's forced to marry Santiago is his name. So she's forced to marry Santiago. He's really high up in this secret society. Half of his face has been burned, and then he tattooed over that to cover that up. And so he believes that her dad is a part of what caused this disfiguring and, like, killed his family. So he marries her to get back at her dad. So it's kind of those hate things where he's really cruel to her, but the whole trilogy is a solid 4. I mean, I loved it. So he's mean. Check triggers. It's all dark. So it's good stuff.
I was just going to say, you love it that way.
I like it that way. That's right. So yeah.
All right, Jessica, my next book was called Tempt Me Cowboy.
Oh my God.
By Megan Crane.
Okay.
So this is Tempt Me Cowboy by Megan Crane. It was a 3-star read for me. It was a novella. It wasn't awful, but I didn't love it either. So it was just like, oh, okay. I read it basically. This is Chelsea. She's a good girl, and she's really, like, kind of under her mom's thumb of constantly trying to live up to her mom's expectations. And her mom is, like, a major gossip and always judging people and having comments about them. And she's just trying to be this dutiful daughter, and she's trying to purchase the railroad depot to turn it into a museum for their town and for their family's history. And enter Jasper, who is a rich dude who moves to their little town in Montana and buys the railroad depot to turn it into a brewery. And she is not happy with that.
Wow.
I beat my time.
I'm so surprised. I'm so proud of you.
Thank you.
Good job. I'm so proud. Yeah.
So again, not horrible, but I I just was like, eh.
Yeah, I know. I hate when that happens.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, well, I got a good one. I mean,
Jessica, I'm not even sure he was actually a cowboy. Okay, let's hear about your
okay. Okay. So I read Beautiful Carnage. This is by Heather Ashley. So this is a age gap, like huge age gap. Secret society. Apparently, I was all about the secret societies this week. Romance. So this is about Fallon, who's been in love with what was his name? Cole. Cole is her dad's best friend and business partner. So we're looking at like a 20-year age gap here. I didn't write down the exact number of years, but that's roughly what it is. And on her 16th birthday, she tells Cole that she hasn't kissed anybody and she really wants him to be her first kiss. And he's like, nope, she's 16, but he's very attracted to her. So he waits until she's 18. And then when she turns 18, he takes her to school and he takes her home and he's like, this is where you're going to stay, kid. You're mine now. And that's pretty much how that goes. This has definitely a breeding kink because he is all about getting her pregnant and keeping her there. And, you know, her dad and him, they have like this it's like 6 or 7 guys and they're in this like secret society together and they run the town. So it's Mafia adjacent as well. But yeah, huge age gap, breeding kink. Go read it.
What did you rate it?
I gave it 4.5 stars.
Okay.
Yeah. Actually, the book, the next book in the series came out last night or today, or it downloaded straight to my Kindle because I pre-ordered it, and it's a different person in this group. It's a teacher-student one. It will be read this week. So yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
Well, my next read is from the Dirty Cowboy series. It's the last one in that series. It's called Mother Bucker by Elle Thorpe. This is Kylie. She's 23. She just found out she's pregnant, but she's not telling anyone in her family because she just kind of feels a little lost. Like she doesn't have her life together. The guy she was seeing wants absolutely like nothing to do with her or the baby. And so she just doesn't know what direction to go into right now. And her sister's getting married, and at the wedding, she meets this guy and she's really attracted to him. They have great chemistry. And then they find out that Abel is actually one of her dad's really good friends from back in his rodeo days. So he's like, oh, whoa, 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 whoa. I knew you were younger, but I did not realize that you're one of my best buddies from back in the days, daughter. This can't happen. But obviously, both of them continue to think of each other. Callie decides to go back to Australia to stay with some family back there and just kind of figure out what she's going to do before the baby comes. And Abel decides to go because he's just kind of directionless right now. He's divorced and he's not really sure what to do. So he's like, I'm going to go to Australia. They don't know they're going to Australia until they get on the plane. And they're like, oh, we're both going to Australia to the same place. And that's where this goes. I rated it a 4. There was just a few things about Callie that kind of bugged me a little bit. And then there was times, I think I was telling you about this book, where it got so good. And I'm like, this is a 5. And then I'd be like, oh, I'm getting a little bored. I don't really care for like her. That's back to a 3. Then it'd be a 5 again. Then there was a point where I cried in the book. So It ended up being a 4 for me.
That's one that's really hard to rate when you have that back and forth like that.
Yes.
Okay, so my next read was a solid 4. So this was the 4th book in Neva Altai's Perfectly Imperfect series. So this one is Ruined Secrets. This is another age gap, Mafia. I mean, you know. So this is about Isabella and Luca. So Isabella has always been in love with Luca. This is we were in the Russian Mafia. Now we're at the Italian, basically. And Isabella's grandpa is the Don, and he is dying, and he wants to name Luca as the next Don. So he arranges a marriage between his granddaughter and Luca. Now she's thrilled because she's been in love with him since she was a little girl. So she's like 8 or something. And he not so much. He's older. He's been married. He just got a divorce. He's got a little daughter at home, a 9-year-old daughter, 7 or 7. I think she's 7-year-old daughter at home. And he's not feeling this. He decides he's not going to touch Isabella, even though he's attracted to her, until she is 21. She decides, no, that is not going to work for her. But something happens and he loses his memory. And so when he wakes up in the hospital, and this happens at the very first of the book, we can tell that he's lost his memory in the first chapter. And so when he wakes up in the hospital and he's like, who are you? She's like, I'm your wife. And he's like, are we in love? And she's like, yeah. Even though they weren't at that point. So very good. 4 stars. Loved it. This whole series is amazing.
I need to read that.
You need to read the whole series. I knew you would love it. Huge age gap. Huge. It's like 16 years.
Age gap.
Huge age gap. Memory loss.
I need my age gap, though, to have the forbidden, like, taboo type aspect. I do not, like, if she's 30 and he's 45, 50, I don't really, that just doesn't matter. You're both grown adults.
Yeah.
And if you're 30 and it's still your dad's best friend, it just still doesn't hit the same way.
No.
You
need that taboo element to it.
Yes, I like that part where there's like, oh my gosh, I love you, but I just, wish you didn't do this, but I can't stay away from you because I love you. I need that.
Yep. Yeah. You need to read this whole series. The books are very long and they're so good. They're just so good. So yeah. Okay. Tell me about your next read.
Okay. My next read, Jessica, let me get my timer because we know I need it. Even though I ignore it. Okay, my next read is Awaking Amelia. This is by Kate Pierce. It was a 3-star read for me. It's military historical fiction, and it's Amnesia. So you would think, oh my gosh, Mandy, you're going to love this book. It was written in third person, and I usually just don't care for third person as much. So that's probably like taking it down a little bit. This is in the 1850s in Britain, and Amelia finds this soldier on the side of the road. I still kind of struggled with picturing this in my mind, like why he's just on the side of the road. But for whatever reason, he's been dumped there. He's passed out. She gets somebody to help her bring him back to her house. And she's trying to nurse him back to health, like out of like a concerned type situation. He wakes up several days later, has no idea who he is. And she's trying to help him put those pieces together. Yes, I beat the timer again.
You're getting a gold star today. Look at you
Thank
go.
you.
Okay. All right. Well, that sounded interesting, but all right.
I liked it. So a 3 still means I liked it. It just wasn't like I really liked it or I loved it.
And I found that I'm getting even pickier now with my stars. Yeah, like a 3 is I liked it. I probably won't reread it, but it was a good read while it lasted. Yeah.
A 3 probably also for me is where like we read all the time. And so I might be reading and I'll be like, oh, actually I still needed to do and I'll put my book down and go do that. But if I'm reading a book that I really like, I'll be like, darn it, I still have to go load the dishwasher.
Yeah. Yep.
I'm trying to do it while I'm still reading.
I feel that because when we started recording this in the book that I'm reading, like it just got to a very climactic part, and I'm like, no, I have to record first.
Yeah.
Oh, it's really hard on me right now. So, okay. All right. So my next book. I read Wretched by Emily McIntyre, and I'm trying to open my notes book while holding this book, and it's not working for me. So Emily McIntyre this is the 3rd book in her series. These are all retellings, fairy tale retellings. This is like the Wizard of Oz. And so you have Nick, who is our hero. He is an undercover cop. And then you have Eveline, who is supposed to be like the witch from the Wizard of Oz. And her family is this Irish crime family. And so Nick, it comes into that family, like he gets accepted as someone helping them out with their drug stuff. And he's undercover there. But he and Eveline had met before he came in undercover at a nightclub, and they banged it out and as a one-night stand situation. And so she recognizes him, and he's coming in under a different name at this point and stuff. And he really wants to get her out. He thinks she's not as involved as she really is. And so this is their story and how that works out. So I gave this one a 4-star. Emily McIntyre, actually, for those who don't know, she just I don't know how recent. I mean, it's been recent, like within the last few months, discovered she has stage 3 breast cancer. And so she's going through treatment right now. And so I wanted to read that to support her. And so I bought her books to support her right now while she's going through that, because she can't really write and stuff right now. She's too sick. And, you know, if you've ever watched our channel, you know that means that hits pretty close to home. So I wanted to support her. So go out and support her and her books right now. They're great. I mean, everybody's read Hooked. If you haven't read Hooked, go read Hooked. It's the first one in the series. It's hot. You haven't read Hooked. Yeah, I know. Mandy's going to read that soon.
I need to.
Yeah. So next.
Okay. My next story is Fake by Kylie Scott. This was a 4-star read for me. This is Movie Star. And it's Patrick, and he has been in like kind of a Hollywood scandal. And his agent is like, and he got dropped from a movie. And so his agent is telling him, like, you have to repair this. We need you like out in public dating somebody. And so she has gone through like this interview process and has all these prospects for him. And she tracks him down at this diner that he frequents. And she's pitching this to him. And he's like, no, I want her. And he's talking about Nora, the waitress. And the reason he wants Nora is because Nora has been the waitress at this diner for a while. And anytime he comes in, she protects his privacy. She's never tried to take a picture of him. She doesn't let people come up and talk to him. She doesn't let people take pictures or anything like that. She's totally protects his privacy, and he really respects that. And so he feels like she would be the perfect person to fake date him because she's not going to try and sell him out. And so she agrees. And one thing I like about this is that there wasn't like this big drama of like trying to get her to agree. She's like, wow, you're going to offer me this much money to live with you and pretend that we're together? Done. Which I feel like sometimes in books when the heroine like refuses too much, I'm just like, why? Like, you need the money.
Yeah.
Like, why wouldn't you? If you were single and you need this money, why wouldn't you go for
Let's be honest. We might be like, okay, let me make sure that you're not some kind of weird pervert. But yes.
Yeah.
Especially when you're like that desperate. Yes.
Yeah.
You're not going to fight too much.
So this is that story.
Okay.
I love a good fake dating.
What did you give it for ratings?
4 stars.
Okay.
I really enjoy Kylie Scott.
I do too. I like Kylie Scott. Yep. Okay, so my next book. I continued on with Neva Altai's Imperfectly Perfect series, and this is the 5th one in the series. Yep, this is the 5th one in the series. This is Stolen Touches. This is my favorite one in the series. As of so far, it's my favorite one. I gave it 5 stars. So this one, again, it's Mafia, dual POV. This one is about Malene. She is Bianca from her second book. It's her little sister, and she's always wanted out of the Mafia, and she's always wanted to become a nurse. So we see her. She has left Chicago, where this originally happens, or the books all take place in Chicago, and she is in New York. And so she is there doing a nursing school. And our hero, who does not feel emotions, can't sense emotions, and he's like really, everybody's scared of this guy. He's the Don in New York for the Italian Mafia. He actually is leaving the hospital one day, and he sees her. She comes rushing out of the hospital to deliver a baby in someone's car in the parking lot of the hospital. And there's a connection between them, and she makes him feel something. And then the people from Chicago are not supposed to be in New York without his permission, and she's there with nobody's, like, she hasn't got anybody's permission. None of her family knows where she's at. She lied to them and told them she was somewhere else. And so when he figures it out, he forces her to marry him. So he's also been through some traumatic things, as you could probably tell if you from like me talking about all these books. Each hero has something that makes them imperfect. And for him, he was held captive and he lost part of his leg. So he has a prosthesis leg and part of the use of his hand. But I loved this one. I love a hero who can't feel emotions, and then they meet that person where they're like, whoa, wait a minute, she makes me feel things and I don't know what this is. Like, I love that. I love it. And I love a broken hero too. So so good. I devoured it.
Okay.
Yep.
Well, my next read was disappointing. So I read the first book in this series, and then when I decided that May was my month to go back and finish series that I just hadn't, I read this when I was in Hawaii, and I had downloaded like all my books onto my Kindle that I was going to read. And so I read this one and I really liked the first book, and so I'm like when I get back, I need to read it. And for whatever reason, I just, didn't get back to it. So Jessica, I was expecting like the first book was a 5-star read for me. So I was expecting book 2 like 4 stars at least, if not a 5-star read. I'm not even sure. I gave it a 3-star read, but the more I think about it, the more I'm like, I don't think it was a 3-star read. I think it might have been like 2.
Uh-oh. Okay, so tell us about it.
Okay, you ready?
Yeah.
It's just a bummer when you have such a disappointing read, but
it's happening.
Okay. So this was a Until the Sun Dies by Amelia Finn. And it's about Lainey and Angelo. And we see her in the first book, and she's the twin to the girl in the first book. She was with this guy, Graham, who did horrific things to her. He took her to this sex club and forced her to do stuff with other guys. He forced her to do drugs so she would do more stuff with other guys, just really, really horrific stuff. But we never see, and there's no flashbacks to that, and we just got glimpses of it happening to her in the first book. So if you didn't even read the first book, I don't even think you would maybe even understand exactly what's happening to her. But there's never, not that I need dark and gritty details, but there's never anything that really explains how she got herself into this position with him to be going to the sex club and doing stuff like this with other guys. Why was she just no, this isn't for me? You do know what I mean? I get that it was supposed to be this kind of abusive relationship, but there wasn't anything on page that really explained what happened here. And so Angelo has been in love with her forever, and it's also his best friend's sister. And so he decides he's going to avenge her, and he goes and does some horrific stuff to Graham without her knowing. And it's just so weird. They're just, I don't know. Their relationship together just doesn't make sense. Why she's, I don't mean to be mean, but why is she so weak? There's no explanation to explain how she got here. Does that make sense?
It makes sense, because I'm all about, I'm not one where I don't need a heroine to be sassy and extremely strong. I can have a weak heroine and I am fine with that, but there has to be a reason for why she's that way. If she's been traumatized, obviously, but that needs to be explained. Why does she not stand up for herself? What's going on here?
I just couldn't connect. And another thing that drove me nuts is her nickname was Baby. Everyone called her Baby. And I just felt but they're all worried about her mental health, but I'm you're calling her a baby, you're treating her like a baby. It's just, I was just so disappointed with it, because I thought it was going to be so good, because the first one was really good. And this just, I don't know.
Didn't do it.
No.
Yeah, that happens sometimes.
Yeah. Okay.
So our last book,
positive to end on.
I am in a 5-star read.
Awesome.
Okay, so I continued with Neva Altai's books. This is the last one. There's one more that the next one comes out later this summer, I think in July, and I'm dying for it. But this one is a little bit different. So Neva Altai, in her books, there's a lot of comedy, or there's a lot of funny things that happen in the books prior to this. And there is a foreword in the book that tells you guys that this one is not going to be funny. This one is extremely serious. This one is very hard to get through. So this one is Fractured Souls. This is about, I think her name is really hard to say. It's Isa or something. It's Asya, but she says it's Azya is how you say it. It's really hard, whatever. And then Pavel is our hero. So we're back with the Russian guys now. Our heroine was kidnapped 2 months prior to the starting and put into the sex trade. She was kidnapped and became a sex slave. She escapes one night and falls in front of a car, and that is Pavel's car that she falls in front of, and he takes her home. Now, he is an ex-MMA fighter, and he has his own trauma as well. And but she is the one who is really traumatized throughout this. And instead of being afraid of him, she clings to him. But he's the only one. And there's things that, you know, she was choked at one point with a tie. And so whenever she sees a man wearing a tie or in a suit, she flips out. But I did appreciate in this one that he can't get her to see a therapist, but he is contacting a therapist going, what do I do? This is what's happening, you know, like for her. And I really appreciated that, that was in there. But they both have things that they need to heal together. And so it was good. It was really good. It was emotional and it was hard, but it was good. Really good. So yeah. So that's it. All right. So that is what we have for you guys this week. Thank you so much for watching.
Make sure to check back on Mondays, Thursdays, and Saturdays for new videos from us.
And we'll see you guys in the next video.